quantity of good B origin due to change in price, which is price A new minus price A origin, then we multiply by price of A origin over quantity of B origin. This is the formula of calculating cross elasticity of demand, because the quantities of good B has changed just because of the change in price of good A. So this is measuring how the two goods they relate to one another. What is the impact of the two goods if one the price changes? That is cross elasticity of demand. Now once you calculate and you get answers, the answers may give you a position to interpret that this is the nature of the goods or the type of the goods. You will know after getting the answer that the answer will tell you the type and the nature of the two goods. That is for the case of this one. Now for that case, if you get those answers to give you interpretation, because most of you students you get difficulties in interpreting with the answers you get, and this is where we're going to deal with, because sometimes calculating is not a problem, but relating the answer you obtained with the nature of the goods, that's where the problem is. So today we are going to check how can we make clear interpretation of the cross elasticity of demand. And as I said, or you recall back from your class, we said we make interpretation of cross elasticity of demand by considering the answers obtained after calculation. It means if you get correct answer, your interpretation will be correct. If you get wrong answer, your interpretation will be wrong. So you have to be careful on calculating, because if you get wrong answer, even your interpretation will be wrong. So come together with me so that we check what will be the effect. Now, for example, one, if the answer is positive, it means here if you get any positive number, are we together? Any positive number, try to recall any positive number. Let's say it is 1 and above, but it is positive. It is 100, it is 10, it is 1, it is 0 point, but it is positive. What does it imply? It means any positive answer of any size. This implies that the two goods are substitute to one another. The two goods are substitute to one another. When we say substitute good, as we recall back to the class, substitute good are those goods which they have the same use. That means they compete in use. So when we say that cross elasticity of demand is positive, it is indicating that these two goods are competing in use because they serve or they have the same use. So having the same use, meaning that when the price of one good increases, it means the quantity of the other good, which is the substitute, it is also going to increase. So for that case, these two goods will have a positive relationship, because as the price of one increases, the demand for other one is going to also to increase. That is when the answer is positive. So it means if you will be told to represent maybe in a graph, graphically, those relation of the two goods, maybe now it is a graph, you can do something like this. If we say the positive relationship, it means these two goods, they will be like this. We said we have two goods, which is we have price of A and we have quantity of B. Now we said if the result is positive, it is indicating that the two goods are substitute, meaning that their slope will be like this one. This will be demand for B, demand for B, because as the price of A increases, you can see this is maybe original price, this is original quantity for B. But when the price increases, you expect also quantity for this one to increase. So this, they're indicating positive relationship of the two goods, and these two goods, we consider them as substitute goods, or goods which they compete in use. A good example of these two goods, we have those common examples, e.g. if we have tea as good A maybe, and we have coffee as another good. These goods, they have the same use. So in the market, when the price for tea increases, it means people will, consumers will learn from buying tea because it had the same use with the coffee, then they'll buy coffee. So when the price for tea increases, you expect demand for coffee to increase, because these two goods, they have the same use. Are you together until there? Then now, if the answer you get it is negative, now the second part, if the answer is negative. Again here, negative, any number, but it is negative. Whether it is less than 1, it is greater than 1, but it is negative. That is, it is implying that the two goods, they are complement. Two goods are complements. Complements, we know that complement, these are two goods which they are used together. Don't confuse with having the same use and being used together. Complement goods are goods which are used together. Now, as we said, we have good A and good B. If good A and B are complement, it means you cannot use B without A. That is the meaning of complement. It means if you buy A, to use A, you need to buy B as well. Because if you buy one, you cannot use the other one. Until the two, they are all together or in one, then they can be used at once. That's why we say for complement goods, these are goods which are used together. That means you cannot consume or use A in absence of B. For example, if you buy a car, you cannot drive until you buy fuel. So fuel and the car, they are complement, because in absence of fuel, car cannot be used. So car and fuel, or fuel of any type, there can be complement goods because those goods are used together. So if you check their demand curve will be negative, implying that the two goods have negative relationship. So if we present a demand curve for this complement good, again, as we said, we have, this is a quantity of B, and we have price of A. If they are complement, as we said, the price of one increases, the demand for one falls. So their demand will be having negative slope. This will be demand for B, and this will be demand for B. Meaning that these two goods, they are complement. So as price of A falls, let's say this is P origin, this is quantity original. So when price of good A falls, maybe to price new, which is this one now, even quantity increases. For example, if the price for cars increases, maybe falls, we expect more people to buy what? Cars. Once they buy cars, because price has gone down, we expect the demand for fuel to be high, because large number of people are buying cars now because the price has gone down. Then you expect the market or the demand for fuel to increase, because the two goods, they are complement to one another. So having seen these two interpretation, when the answer is positive or is negative, then we can evaluate, or we can try to check one example before we proceed. So we can check one example from there. We get one example. So you can check example from the screen there. You can see it. We have example from our screen there. You observe, then you calculate, so that we see what is the impact of these two forms of elasticities. This is for cross elasticity. This example here, that we have this table, that is example given the following table. In this table, we have price of commodity X, which is given as price of X in bracket. We have quantity demanded for commodity X, which is demand for X. And we have quantity demanded for commodity B, which is demand for B. And finally, we have the income level of a consumer. So because our subtopic, we said we are going to deal with the cross elasticity and the income elasticity. So we'll check the part of cross elasticity first. So for example, in this table said, from the above table, answer the following questions. Now question A, it is calculate the following types of elasticity of demand in the first point only. It means the question is asking us to calculate these elasticities. One of them is cross elasticity we have discussed, which is part 2. So we have to calculate only for the first point. What do we mean when we say first point? It means the first point is when price or income changes from this point to this point. These are the first points. If we go to the other point, that means the not first case. So the first point, it means when price changes from here to here, or when it changes maybe from here to here. That is the first case. So we can note information there, then we can calculate cross elasticity, which is part 2. So we can get cross elasticity here, cross elasticity here. For example, we said cross elasticity cross equals to quantity of commodity B, maybe new, minus quantity of commodity B origin over price of A, maybe new, minus price of A origin, then times the origin price and origin quantity. Now from that table, because you have to calculate the cross elasticity of demand between X and the commodity B. So if you check from the table, X, we have been given the price of X, and you have demand for B. So it means for B, we'll use quantities, and for X, we'll use prices. So for the first point, for example, quantities here, we have 20 minus 16, as you can see, then divide by prices, which is 18 minus 14, then times the origin quantity and price, which is 14 over the origin quantity, which is 16. So after calculating, you get 4 over 4, then times 14 over 16. So this is remaining 1. If you divide this one, you get 0.875. So that is our cross elasticity of demand for good X and the or commodity B. That is cross elasticity. So this answer is positive, though it is less than 1. Now for that case, after getting this cross elasticity, we can make interpretation which we have said, whether the answer is positive or it is negative. But this answer is positive, so it is implying that the goods are substitute, because the answer is positive. So let's now move to the other part, which is income elasticity of demand. So we go together, income elasticity of demand. In case of income, that is income elasticity of demand. It means here we want to measure the response of quantity demanded when income of a consumer change, because here elasticity we are measuring two variables, that when income changes we expect quantity demanded to change. Then that relationship between a change in income which results to a change in quantity demanded, then we say that is income elasticity of demand. Remember, all human beings, we earn income from different activities, and those income is used to buy different goods and services. So when our income changes, we expect our demand also to change automatically. Even if maybe you are a student, even when you are at boarding schools, when your income is increasing, you expect your demand to change. When your income is falling, you expect your demand to change. So human beings, they respond immediately when their income changes. Either they have to switch off or to increase their demand depending on the state of their income they have. So let's move together to see what will be happening if income of the consumer changes, what will be happening to quantity demanded. Now let's say we have let income be given by Y. So Y will be representing income of a consumer, any consumer. Then quantity be Q. We have Q there. So as we said, if income changes, we expect quantities also to change. So it means, if, for example, if we have income maybe changes from previous income to a new income somewhere, that is a change. Likewise, quantity will change from previous quantity to a new quantity. Now what we expect, it means our income elasticity income will be equals to, we take change in quantity, which will be sorry, this is quantity 1, sorry. So which will be quantity new minus quantity previous divided by income new minus income previous, then times previous income over quantity previous. Now when you use this statement, again you get answers. It means here, this is the formula which will help you to get the income elasticity of demand. So it means, as we said, when income will change, quantities will change. Again here, when you calculate, you'll get different answers. Again, the answer can be positive, can be 0, or can be negative. Are we together? So it means you get either positive or you get negative answer. So once you get those answers, again you can make interpretation. You can interpret your results, because you can be told competently that calculate income elasticity of demand, then interpret your answer. How can we interpret income elasticity of demand? We can use the following ways. Again, here we can calculate or we can interpret income elasticity of demand by observing the results obtained from our calculation. It means our calculations, they are the one which they will tell us the type of elasticity we have and the nature of the goods. So until you get a correct income elasticity is where you can get correct interpretation. Now, for example, if the answer here again it is positive, if you get a positive answer, it means you calculate income elasticity and your answer is positive. Any positive number, whether it is 100, it is 1 million or less than those, but it's positive. This implies that that good, it is a normal good. It means when we say a normal good, are those goods which the demand for this good increases when income also increases. This is normal good. For example, maybe buying those, we call them as basic needs, like clothes, maybe those food and other kind of items which we use them daily. It means when our income increases, we expect our demand also to increase. When income falls, our demand also will fall. For that case, a good which has got a positive relationship, its demand has positive relationship, then we say that good is a normal good, because as income increases, we expect demand also to increase. Let's say for a normal person, when a salary or a wage increases, the demand nature for that person is going also to increase. But maybe at your working place, maybe the income has gone down. You expect also a demand to go down for normal goods. You'll be buying less than you used to buy because income has gone down. So if they have that relation, then we say that is a normal good. For example, you can draw like this one in the graph. This is quantity of a good, maybe any good. This is the income you have. So if you get positive, it means the demand will be like this. Demand will be like this one, meaning that as income increase, demand will also be increasing because it is a normal good. Likewise, when you get a negative answer, this implies that that good, it is inferior good. So when you calculate income elasticity and you get the answer which is negative, that is telling you that the good in question, it is inferior good. What is inferior good? Inferior good are those goods which we buy less when our income is high, and we buy more when the income is less. It means there are some goods in the society where we demand them when we have low income, but when our income increases, we ignore buying those goods. We consider them as inferior good. So try to check where you are in the society you are living. You will find the nature of these goods. People, they are living in that life. We have those people with the low income earner, they used to consume a certain type of food, which is very inferior. Once their income increases, they switch off from buying those goods, they buy another good. We have those common of goods in the society. Those people, they consume when they have income and low income, and they don't consume when their income is higher. Those we call them as inferior goods. So it means this type of good, inferior good, it has got inverse relation with the income. When income increases, you buy less of that good. When income falls, you buy more of that good. It means in demand curve, it can appear like this one. This is quantity which is influenced by income. So when income changes, quantity will change. Now the demand will be having negative slope like this one, indicating that when income maybe increases, demand will also increase. That is, will fall. Now for that case, this type of good, it is inferior good because it has inverse relationship with the income. As income increases, demand for that good falls. This is income elasticity of demand. So again, we go to check example from the normal example used to have. That is from our screen there. We'll observe that example used to have. That is from the screen. So observe from there, you'll get our example there. So again, from our screen there, you can see we have income level of a consumer. Now in part 1, it is asking calculate the income elasticity of demand of commodity B. It means we want to check the relationship between the income of this consumer and the quantity demanded of good B, because you have good B in this case. So we have to check when income changes, what will be happening to the demand for good B. Then we have to calculate it in this way. So as we said, income elasticity, on calculating, we said income elasticity equals to quantity new minus quantity previous, then we divide by income new minus income previous times income over this one. Now, if you enter those values, for example, when income it was 1,500, it changed it to 2,000. Then quantities of good be demanded changed from 16 to 20. So we say it will be 20 minus 16 divided by income, which is 2,000 minus 1,500, then times the former income, it was 1,500 over the former quantity, which was 16. So if you calculate this answer, you will get finally it will be 6,000. You divide by which is 80,000. The answer will be 0.75. This is our income elasticity of demand after calculating. So this is the answer. So you can find that for that type of good, when the income changes, the demand also changes for good B, but the relation is positive, indicating that that good is a normal good. Okay, then having that table also, part B, it is asking interpret the answer. That is the answer obtained. Try to interpret. So as we said in the beginning, that interpreting the answers, it will depend on the answers obtained. So we said when it is positive, it will be, for income, it will be a normal good, and when it is negative, it is inferior good. For cross, we said when it is positive, it is a substitute goods. Then when it is negative, we said they are complementary good. And this is when we speak of elasticity of demand. These elasticities, they are very useful in human life, because sometimes you can ask, what is the use of these elasticities? They are very useful. People are planning to be business people or to own their own projects. You cannot go through your business if you don't have idea of elasticity of demand, because sometimes you cannot change price without considering the nature of the customers. You might be selling a commodity where your customers are low income earners. When you change price, even a single shilling, you are going to affect those customers. So before you change or you make any decision about either to increase or to lower the price, you have to check what is your competitor doing. For example, in the market, we have so many competitors there. So before you make any decision of lowering or increasing price, you have to check the nature of your competitors. Because you can lower the price, then you can lose customers. You can increase the price, you can lose customers. So you have to check the nature of the customers plus the nature of the competing commodities. How are they relating to one another? This is when we speak of income and cross elasticity of demand. They are very important in human life. Now, for this particular time, we go for a short break. Then thereafter, I'll be coming back to attempt some questions which will be sent through this number which is passing on your screen. So you send those questions. Then once I come back, I'll try to attempt those questions. So stay tuned. So welcome again after the short break. We have received some comments plus some questions from students from different parts of the country. We have the first question here is stating, hello sir, I am Goodluck John, a EGM student from Moshi. The lesson is interesting. We have questions here. How can a small scale business firm use income elasticity to maintain their business? That is, this question is coming from Moshi, EGM student. He is asking, how can small scale business firm use income elasticity to maintain their business? That is the question from Goodluck from Mosh. Now, as I said in the beginning, the concept of elasticity of demand, Both cross elasticity and income elasticity, they are very useful in daily life, including those people who are owning different business units. As I said, you have to use the idea of elasticity, either of demand or cross elasticity, to know what can you do in terms of making decision, either lowering price or sometimes increasing price, because all business firms, they are aiming to maintain their business, probably to get more profit. That is their aim. So when you speak of small scale business, these are people who have business but they have very small capital. We have people like maybe Mama Ntilie, they own a very small capital. These are small business people. You cannot compare maybe Mama Ntilie with maybe a Kempinski hotel. That is a big business firm, but Mama Ntilie is a small business firm. We have people like those street vendors whom they are buying those materials in wholesale, then they are selling them along the street. Now these people, they have to use income elasticity to maintain their business. Remember, if you own a small business, and as I said, you have a small capital, it means you are distributing and selling your goods to low income earners, most of them. Remember, the Mama Ntilie is selling those food to very small income earners, whom they can afford to buy food maybe at 1,000 shillings or 1,500 or 2,000, of which you cannot find a rich person going to eat around your Mama Ntilie. So it means those small scale business firms, they serve people with very low income earners, very low income. Now for that case, to maintain your business with those people, you should not allow yourself to increase the price, because you are distributing or selling the good to people with very low income. So when you increase the price, that means you are chasing them from buying your good. For example, let's say if Mama Ntilie is owning a Mama Ntilie somewhere, then from selling a food at 1,000 shillings, then rising to 2,000, that means automatically this Mama Ntilie is going to lose some of the customers. So to maintain your business, don't increase price for small-scale business owners, because you are competing with large-scale firms. So make sure that you either maintain the price or you lower the price so that you attract many customers, because you are saving people whom they have very small income. So if you increase price, that means those low income earners, they cannot afford anymore to buy your food, to buy your goods, then they will run away to another small business firm. So to maintain your business, to maintain your share in the market, make sure that you either maintain the same price or you lower the price to retain more customers. Unless otherwise, you'll find yourself at the point of losing a number of customers. Likewise, these people, they can maintain by using income elasticity of demand sometimes, because the issue is to maintain the market share, or the market to go on being in the market. One of the methods they can use also, they have to make sure that they are going to apply to add their capital, either by applying maybe those like applying loan from different banks to raise their capital, because sometimes for these business people, you cannot maintain your business if you cannot acquire loans, which is credit from financial institutions. So those financial institutions, they are there to help people of that type to learn and increase their business. So to maintain your business, make sure that you don't increase or you maintain the price, or sometimes you lower the price. It is the only way you can meet. And remember also, these small scale business firms, they are selling goods which they have in elastic demand. And these goods mostly, they are useful in our daily life. That's why if you increase very much the price for these goods, it is very easy to lose customers. So you should make sure that because the nature of the customers you serve, they are very small, they are low income earners, make sure that you maintain the standard of your price and don't increase, or you can maintain the price. That is what you can do to maintain your business. The other suggestion from another person we can read here, it is, that is, we have the Bezalel Godson from Iringa. I am grateful, satisfied with your lesson. Thank you very much. And we have another one who is asking, suppose now you calculate the elasticity of demand and you get it is positive. Then you will be told to represent in the graph. What are you going to do? You see? So according to this one again, he is asking, if you calculate elasticity of demand, cross elasticity, then you get the elasticity is positive. Then they are asking, how can you present that figure in the graph? It means we said if you calculate and you get cross elasticity is positive, any positive number, it is positive 10, it is positive 2, it is positive 3, then they ask you represent this information in a graph. We said for cross elasticity, when it is positive, we said it means the two goods, they have positive relation, so the slope of the demand curve will also be what? Positive, as we said. So it means to represent the demand curve, it will be like this one. It means if that good has been explained there, maybe we have good x, quantity of good x, that is good x, these are quantity, then we'll be having maybe price of y. Now, if the cross elasticity is positive, any positive number, and I've told you to represent in a graph, that means our graph, as I said, will be looking like this one. This is demand, because in this graph we said as price for this good increases, maybe it is increasing from P origin, this is quantity origin. Then when the price increases, this is P1, this will be Q1. So it means as the price increases, demand also is increasing. When you calculate the slope, which is also the elasticity, you get positive because they have positive relationship. And we said the nature of these two goods, they are always substitute goods. So it means it is only substitute goods which they can have this nature of demand curve. Because for substitute good, we said as the price of one good increases, we expect the quantity of the other good to increase. Because we gave example of these goods, like we said coffee and tea. So it means in the market, when the price of coffee increases, because they have the same use, we expect customers to run away from buying coffee. They are going to buy what? Tea. So it means the sellers for coffee will lose customers because the price have gone up. So these customers, they will learn to buy tea. Therefore, the quantity for tea will increase because price of coffee has gone up. This is, as we said, for this kind of cross elasticity of demand. Okay, so we get the last question from another student. That is Mwana Idi Bakari, Eka student from Manyara, is asking, is the government of Tanzania applying the concept of elasticity of demand? Is the government of Tanzania applying the concept of elasticity of demand? So Mwanaidi Bakari from Manyara is asking if the government of Tanzania is using the concept of elasticity of demand in different decision. Now the answer here is yes, that the government is using elasticity of demand in formulating different decision. Now let's check how the government uses elasticity of demand in formulating different decision. Now, as we have seen in previous discussion, that the government may use elasticity of demand in formulating different policies, or sometimes setting different policies. Now we can see, for example, number one, it is useful in tax policy. Tax policy. It means all governments in the world, they formulate tax policies relating or by considering the nature of elasticity of demand. Now, for example, because taxes is one of the important instruments in the economic development, when we set tax, we have to check, or the government has to check, whether that tax may have impact on demand. Now, for that case, we have goods which is some goods, for example, goods with the inelastic demand. It means when we say goods has inelastic demand, these goods, it means when a price changes by a large percent, demand changes by small percent. That is inelastic. It means the elasticity is less than 1. That is inelastic demand. Now the government may formulate policy basing on this nature. For example, we have these goods like drinks. We know common drinks, especially soft drinks, and probably these alcoholic drinks. Now you can find in each annual budget, the tax for these drinks, it is increasing. It is increasing, but the demand for these drinks is not affected. Why? Because this demand, the demand for these goods, they are inelastic, meaning that even if tax will increase price, then the demand cannot be affected much, because you say the goods with the inelastic demand, even when price increases by a large proportion, we expect demand not to be affected. That's why you can find in each annual budget the price or maybe the tax for soft drinks, tax for alcohols, and the tax for items also like cigarettes. They are increasing every time. Now you find the price for these goods, it is increasing, but demand is not affected, just because these goods, they have inelastic demand. But also mind you, these goods, they have the so-called, they have habit forming. That means the consumption of these goods, they form habit. What do you say when they form habit? Someone who is taking alcohol, it is going to change into habit. That means even if price is increasing, they don't feel bad to stop to go on consuming those goods. Cigarette consumers, even if price is increasing because of tax, you can find they are going on using or consuming cigarettes, because these goods, they are forming habit. So it is not easy to stop even if price is increasing. So for that case, you find the government may be increasing tax for these goods, but demand is not affected, because these goods, they have inelastic demand. Again, we have goods with the elastic demand. It means goods with elastic demand, their elasticity is always greater than 1. It means for these goods, if prices changes even by small proportion or by small percent, we expect demand to be affected by large amount. So for that case, these goods, when the price increases, it means demand falls rapidly. For that case, to maintain demand for these goods, you can find the tax for these goods will be lowered, so that price also be lowered to motivate demand. Because for these goods with the elastic demand, when the price changes by large proportion, that means, or even by small proportion, quantity will also be affected by large proportion. For that case, the government should focus on at least reducing price for these goods by taxing a lower tax for these goods, so that demand can be maintained. This is for the case of goods with the elastic demand. So tax elasticity is useful in tax policy. The second application of the government in elasticity, it is used in international trade. International trade. So the government has different policies in international trade. International trade, it is involving import and export of goods, or exchange of goods and services between two countries. Now, when you exchange these goods, the government formulates different policies to make sure that export is at least increasing, while import is at least declining. Because for countries to be well off, at least export should be higher than import. Now, when we set tax policy on import goods or on export of goods, we have to make sure that that tax policy will be motivating or encouraging export, while the problem will be discouraging import. Now, for example, we have we want to talk about tax. We have import and the export. It means the government has to set tax policies by considering elasticity for both import and export. For example, if the demand for export, let's say it is inelastic. That is an example. If the demand for export of a certain good is inelastic, it means if these goods are taxed heavily, they cannot affect demand, because we said for these goods with the inelastic demand, even when the price changes by greater proportion, we don't expect effect on the demand. Now, if export is inelastic, even if the government taxes higher tax, it means price will increase by small proportion, of which the effect of demand will not be large. Now, for that case, it means the government can set higher taxes for export, so that for those inelastic goods, because demand will not be affected. But for example, if maybe import has elastic demand, it means if we want to reduce import, it means tax policy here, it is also to increase tax on import goods, because when you increase tax on imported goods, we expect price to increase, and when the price increases, we expect demand to go down. This is when we speak of tax policy. So it is used also in international trade. So on formulating tax for import, or we want to encourage import, export and import, then you have to use tax policy as well by considering elasticity of demand. And the last part for this application of elasticity of demand, we have the devaluation policy. That is the devaluation policy. Devaluation policy. Now recall from what we did in the class, what is devaluation policy and what are the aims of devaluing currency. Now if we recall back to our class, we said devaluation is the purposeful action of the government to lower the value of its currency in favor of foreign currency. That means if the government decides to lower the value of its currency in favor of foreign currency, what is the aim? It means we want to lower the value of Tanzanian T shillings when we compare with the USDs, that is dollars. Then what is the aim? We remember we said the aim of devaluation is to promote export and discourage import. That is the aim. Because when we lower currency, it means export becomes cheap while import becomes expensive. So the aim of the government is to make sure that after devaluing currency, export increases while import falls. The aim is to make sure that we have a favorable balance of trade or balance of payments. Now for that case, when we make devaluation policy, we have to consider the so-called elasticity of demand of import and export. For any devaluation policy to be successful, the government should check the nature of elasticity of demand of the goods exported and the goods imported. Because, as I said, devaluation aims at increasing export but also decreasing import. Now, for that case, you have to check the nature of elasticity. Now, let's check. Now, one of the conditions, that means we have export, then we have import. For devaluation policy to be successful, we expect the nature of elasticity of demand of the two sides, they should be the same. That means both, they should be elastic. You see, that is the nature of demand of export and import should be elastic. What do we mean? We said elastic when there is a small change in price, it brings a larger change in quantities. Now, because we say devaluation is aiming to increase or encourage export, then it is also aiming to discourage import. Now, when export has elastic demand and we have devalued the currency, it means it will be cheaper to export goods. It means now a smaller change in the price for export result to a greater change in the quantity demanded for export. That means we'll be increasing export automatically because export has become cheap after devaluation. Likewise, when we have import and that import has elastic demand, it means when we devalue a currency, import becomes expensive. For that case, the import price will increase, and when import price increases, we expect demand for import to be low. When demand for import is low, that means we have discouraged import and we have encouraged what? Export. For that case, import will be low and export will be higher. Then devaluation for the currency will be successful. Now, before making any devaluation by the government, they have to check the nature of elasticity of demand of the goods exported and the goods imported. Unless, if we don't check these elasticities, you will devalue the currency, but the policy will not be successful because import will not change, but also export will not change, of which the policy will not be functioning. So before you make that decision, make sure that the demand for export is elastic and the demand for import is elastic, so that a smaller change in price makes them to change rapidly, either import or export at once. This is when we speak of application of elasticity of demand by the government, as it is asked by Mwanaidi Bakari from Manyara. Now we get, while we are coming to an end, we can check from the screen where we can get some questions for your personal exercise. We have covered issues of elasticity of demand, cross elasticity. We have covered income elasticity, but the question from Mwanaidi has helped us to cover some other applications of elasticity of demand. Now, this is very useful for you. After this class, you can check yourself by doing these questions you can see in your screen. So you try to pass through, you'll get that question in your screen. So you can test yourself from this exercise where we have two questions. Question number one, it is asking, The cross elasticity of demand of two goods X and Y is -3. The cross elasticity of demand of two goods X and Y is -3. Basing on this data, that means this data of X and Y, number one, represent the data in a graph. Number two, explain what the graph show. That means after representing the graph, then you have to show what is that graph showing. Number three, give the nature of the two goods. This is economically we have covered in the class, so you know the nature of the two goods after drawing the diagram. Number four, give examples of good X and Y. That means because the elasticity is negative, that's the cross elasticity, then it is asking you to give example of what is good Y and what is good X. And the last question, and the last part for this question, what will be the effect on demand for good X if price for Y of Y falls? It means what will be the effect on demand of X when the price of Y is going to fall? That is question number one. Question number two. Question number two, you can see here, the question is asking, we have John, Bright, and Jane are third-year economics students at University of Dar es Salaam. I repeat there, John, Bright, and Jane are third-year economics students at University of Dar es Salaam. They have conducted a survey in one of a village around Dar es Salaam. That means this survey, it is like a research. They have conducted a research or a survey in one of the village around Dar es Salaam. They observed that commodity X lasts for a short period of time. Commodity X. It means around that village in Dar es Salaam, commodity X lasts for a short period of time. Commodity Y is commonly used by the households and considered to be an essential. Okay? Commodity Y is commonly used by the households and considered to be an essential. Commodity Z, goods that last for longer period of time. It means Z includes all goods around that village which they last for longer period of time, required from those data now, which were obtained by John, Bright, and Jane. What are you required to do? Number one, suggest the type of good X, Y, and Z. Remember, we have explained what is X looking like, what is Y looking like, and how is X looking like, Y looking like. Now, the first part, it is suggest the type of good X and good X, Y, and Z. Number two, what could be the nature of elasticity of good X, Y, and Z. Now, so far we have covered the issue of elasticity in the in lessons today. Now you can be in a position to know this good X, Y, and Z. What is the nature of these goods based on those information have been given there. Number three, suggest the decision to be made by sellers of these commodities to maximize sales revenue. It means assume you are selling among those goods. What decision can you do to raise your revenue? Remember the nature of X, the nature of Y, the nature of Z. Now assume you are a seller, or those sellers who are selling those commodities around that village in Dar es Salaam. What can they do? What decision should they take to maximize sales revenue based on the information given from this question? And the last part, it is asking, show how the government may tax these commodities. Again, basing on the information given, you have to advise or to show how the government can tax these three commodities, X, Y, and Z. This is the end of our lesson. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Takwimu zinaonyesha kuwa watu wenye magonjwa sugu yasiyoambukiza ikiwemo kisukari, saratani, shinikizo kubwa la damu na magonjwa ya moyo, pamoja na wazee wanapopata maambukizi ya homa kali ya mapafu inayosababishwa na virusi vya corona, wanakuwa kwenye hatari ya kupata athari kubwa zaidi kwa sababu kinga